Happy Friday the 13th. Join me, the Grimtale Brothers, and Horde Horror for some scary stories on this scary day. Number 1. The Noise. This story didn't happen to me, but it did happen to a relative of mine. The story was told to me a few times when I was younger. It is a very freaky yet somewhat satisfying story, but I don't want to mention the relation of the person it happened to, just for privacy reasons. However, it was a female relative of mine. I know that this story happened when my relative was 13 years old. That's because between the ages of 10 and 13, she had a stepfather who was remarkably cruel. He would hit them, scare them, and I've been told of some of the really awful things he did to his stepchildren. I generally did not like hearing any of the stories of what he had done, but this one I didn't mind hearing. I do have to let you know a few things. First, this happened around 50 years ago, and it happened in an extremely rural part of West Virginia. My relatives lived in an old house, out in the hills. There were no outside lights that were not part of the house. The house was therefore surrounded by forests and hills. One of the cruel things that the stepfather did was to send the kids outside at night. Sometimes this was to go back to the shed and get some firewood for the stove. He would send them out the back door to go and do these things. Then he would sneak out the front door, find a hiding place, and jump out and attack them on their way back to the house. My relative told me that the night this happened, she was already pretty scared. They had been listening to the radio, and she kept thinking that she was hearing noises outside. She couldn't explain what the noises were, but she assumed that it was some sort of animal. It might have been because they were listening to an old scary radio play. My relative kept looking out the window, as if she thought that something was going on out there. Her stepfather likely noticed her nervousness, and that was when he told her to go out and get some wood for the shed. She protested a little that she didn't want to go out there, but when her stepfather began to get angry, she went out to the back door of the house. By this point, she already knew the sort of thing that the stepfather was likely planning. He could not see the back door from the living room. She moved her hand to open the door, but paused when she again felt that she had heard something outside. She waited, and was about to open the door again. She realized that if she was late in getting the wood, and her stepfather would be out there waiting to scare her, she would probably be beaten up pretty badly rather than just scared. My relative reached for the doorknob, but when she did, she heard the sound again, the same one that she had been hearing all that night, and it made her scared to open the door. It was an inhuman noise. She didn't think it was a monster or anything, but they lived in the mountains of West Virginia, and there were plenty of wild animals outside. And suddenly, she heard an ungodly scream, followed by a distinct human scream of intense pain. Terrified, my relative ran back into the living room. Her mother, who was a hunter, grabbed the shotgun that they kept by the living room door. She told her kids to remain in the house while she went out and checked out what was happening. My relative and her sisters were quite terrified. They weren't sure how much time had passed before they heard the shotgun fire once, and then a second time. There was another ungodly and inhuman scream, and then things were silent. Their mother came back into the house. She looked terrible, and she grabbed the car keys and gathered the girls into their truck. They were crying and asking what had happened, but she wouldn't tell them. They drove all the way to their aunt's house so their mother could use the phone. It turns out that a rabid bobcat was in the area that night. This was the noise that my relative kept hearing. When her stepfather went outside, he had jumped around the corner of the house, thinking he was scaring his stepdaughter. Instead, he got mauled by the rabid bobcat, which killed him. Their mom, in turn, killed the bobcat.
One night, a 16-year-old girl was babysitting for 2 young boys. Their parents weren't due to come home until very late, so she let them stay up and watch some TV. One of the boys was flipping channels when he came to an emergency news bulletin. The reporter said that a crazed murderer had escaped from a nearby insane asylum and was on the run from the local authorities. He was believed to be in the area and was armed with a hatchet. The police cautioned residents to lock their doors and windows because the man was extremely dangerous. The young boys began to panic, and the babysitter didn't want them to get upset, so she put them to bed early. As she tucked them in, they kept asking her if she had locked all the doors and windows. She assured them that she would lock everything. Then she went back downstairs and resumed watching television. Sometime later, one of the boys was awoken by a loud crash. He wasn't sure if it was his imagination, so he sat up in bed and listened intently. After a while, he began to hear weird sounds coming from downstairs. He wondered if he was just letting his imagination run away with him. Maybe it was just the sound of the babysitter watching television downstairs. The boy heard the sound again and woke his brother. Together, they listened at the door to the bedroom. The boys began to shake with fear. Terrified, they pushed their beds up against the door and barricaded themselves inside their bedroom. The sounds eventually stopped, but the boys were too afraid to leave the safety of their bedroom. For hours, they cowered in their bedroom, with their beds jammed securely against the door. Later that night, when the boys' parents returned, they were shocked to find a gruesome scene. There was a trail of blood leading from the hallway all the way up the stairs. In a panic, the mother screamed out her sons' names. When the 2 boys heard their mother calling, they pulled back their beds and opened their bedroom door. Lying at the top of the stairs, in a pool of her own blood, was their babysitter. Her arms had been cut off at the elbows and her legs had been cut off at the knees. She had used her bloody stumps to drag herself up the stairs, trying to warn them. Now, that's one dedicated babysitter.
Number 4. The Hike. This happened to me and my friend Todd a few years ago. We were going on a week-long camping trip. Most of it was off-trail hiking. It was something we did every year towards the end of summer, before we had to go back to school in the fall. Each time we would try exploring a new area. I don't want to give away the area that we were camping in, I just think that's a bad idea. But it wasn't an area that we had been in before. However, we had a compass and a map, and the 2 of us never got lost before. We were very experienced campers. Our plan was to go around in a circular pattern. We never liked the idea of backtracking, because in doing that, half of our week would be spent experiencing the exact same area as where we began. The first 3 nights that we were out, nothing unusual happened. About the strangest thing that we heard were the cries of a loon. I mean, we were relatively sure it was a loon. Loons actually can sound different than each other. But the sounds were close enough to how we understood loons to sound that it was safe to assume we were hearing loons. On the 4th night, though, we were sitting around the campfire, just hanging out. While we were talking, we heard a screaming sound that we both thought sounded human. There was one piercing scream, followed by a second one moments later. Todd got up and grabbed his gun. He walked a few steps in the direction and yelled out, "Hello?" There was no immediate response. So Tom yelled again, "Hello, do you need help?" Todd is a little bit more level-headed than I am. I mean, I wouldn't have called out after hearing such a nasty scream. I immediately assumed that something bad was out there. Like someone was being attacked or something. And I would think calling out to help would just make us the next victims. Todd, on the other hand, thought it might be another hiker that was in trouble. After the second scream, there was no response, and no further screams. Todd wanted to go out and look for the source of the scream. It took me a while, but I finally talked him out of it. It was dark, and although we had flashlights and night vision goggles, we still didn't know exactly where the scream had been coming from, and how far away it may have been. If we heard anything else, we could investigate, but we would be going that direction in the morning. We didn't hear anything further that night. On the following day, we did not hear anything suspicious, nor did we find anything while hiking. I felt reasonably comfortable that what we heard was nothing but loons. Todd, however, did not agree. We had reached the furthest hiking point of our hike that day, and were circling around to go back. We camped that night, and again we heard a few blood-curdling screams. However, this time, they were very close to camp. This time, there was no talking Todd out of going to investigate. He took the night vision goggles and his gun. He insisted that I stay at the camp, just in case someone was trying to lure us away from the camp. He took his gun and left me his hunting knife. Todd was gone for a while. I had to admit being scared. There wasn't much noise out there, though. That made it even creepier. After a while, I heard a gunshot. It was followed quickly by another gunshot. I was freaked out, but had no idea what to do. I knew it wouldn't be a good idea to run out to find Todd. If I did, and he didn't know it was me, I could get shot out of panic. I just had to be patient and wait for him. When Todd got back to the campsite, I could see he was visibly shaken. Also, he had some dirt and blood on his clothes and his face. I was concerned, but he assured me that it wasn't his. Todd told me that he was attacked by something while he was out in the woods. It was from the side, so he was not able to get a look at it. When he fired the first shot, it was done to scare off whatever had attacked him. It did run off, and he fired a shot in his direction. Whatever attacked him was either bleeding or had something else's blood on it, which is why he had blood on him. We had no idea if the second gunshot hit his attacker or not, but he doubted it. We didn't sleep that night, and we explored the area he was attacked in and found nothing. The next few nights went by without incident. We were able to get back to our vehicle safely and go home. We were unsure how to proceed from there, but we never hiked in that area again.
There was a young girl who was in need of a job, was able to find work as a babysitter for a couple who lived in a large, isolated old house. They were going out to see a movie that night and left the teenage babysitter in charge of their 3 young children. The babysitter put the children to bed when it got too late and then went downstairs to watch some television. She was just getting comfortable when she heard the phone ringing. When she answered it, all she heard was heavy breathing, followed by a man's voice asking,
"Have you checked on the children?"
Freaked out, she hung up the phone, trying to convince herself that it was just someone playing a practical joke on her. She went back to watching television, but about 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. She picked up the receiver and heard hysterical laughter from the other end of the line. Then the same voice asked,
"Why haven't you checked on the children yet?"
The babysitter slammed down the phone. The poor girl was frightened out of her wits and immediately called the police. The operator at the police station told the babysitter that if the man called again, she should try to keep him talking. That would give the police time to trace the call. A few minutes later, the phone rang a third time, and when the babysitter answered it, she heard the heavy breathing again. The voice on the line said,
You should really check on the children.
The babysitter listened to him laughing hysterically for a long time. She hung up the phone again, and almost immediately, it rang again. This time it was the operator from the police station who yelled,
Get out of the house right now! The call's coming from upstairs!
The babysitter dropped the phone in shock, and suddenly she heard heavy footsteps walking down the stairs. Without pausing for a second, she ran out of the house as fast as her legs could carry her. Just as she closed the front door behind her, a man's hand slammed against the glass. She screamed and ran out into the street just as a police car was pulling up outside. The police searched the house and found the 2 children upstairs, hiding in a closet, crying uncontrollably. In the parents' bedroom, they found a bloody axe lying on the floor next to the upstairs phone. The back window was wide open and the curtains were blowing in the breeze. There was no sign of the madman who had made the phone calls. He had escaped into the night. When the police officers arrived, they managed to interrupt his horrible plan to kill the 2 children and the poor babysitter.
Look, I got another story for y'all, man. I got another one. Now this story is now this is about when I got chased by the Chicago had this rapist clown, man. It was this clown that was a rapist, man. He raped and tried to kidnap kids, and like this junk was jacked up, man. But I'm gonna tell you the origins of him, man, where he really came from. Cause I saw him before he was like full blown clown, man. Like I saw him back when he was just a regular pervert, man. So I'm gonna go back to the days when he was just a regular pervert and not a crazy creepy clown, man. Crazy creepy crackhead clown, man. Faux C, what's it called? That's C squared? Nah, squared is 3. C cubed. Yeah, CQ, creepy, crazy, crackhead clown in Chicago. No, that's 5. Chicago, creepy, crazy clown. Chicago, creepy, crazy clown. Dang, creepy, crazy clown. Okay, Chicago, creepy, crazy clown, crackhead. I don't know what comes after cube, man. So, cube, yeah, square, cube. I don't know what come up after that. You know, y'all let me know in the comments, man. But anyway. So when I was, let me see what grade we talking about, let me see, 7th, maybe 8th grade, 7th or 8th. So when school got out, the gym was open. So instead of, like folk just going home, we go to the gym. And that's what we call it. Like, hey, man, you going to the gym? Yeah, I'm going to the gym. So basically, they just open up the gym and we go inside, play basketball. Girls be jumping rope, throw football, whatever. So it was cool, man, because the school was like a safe place to hang out, man. Because, like, even like down here in Atlanta, the kids, when they get out of school, they get on the bus and they go to the crib, man. Like, ain't no hanging at the school. Like, if you're in an after school program, yeah. And I guess it's kind of like the location, because you can't get around down here, unless you in a vehicle, man. You can't just walk. Like, we walked home and stuff, man. But down here I stay in the suburb right outside Atlanta, man. So the school kind of spaced out from everybody in the town go to that one school, man. So I guess it's kind of hard for them to hang around and stuff and all that. But anyway, so we hung around and we be chilling out, kicking it and all that. So while we kicking it, I'm getting ready to leave. Now when I open the door, I see a couple of guys I knew, and they just hitting it, boy. They moving. They running like dang Godzilla or something down the street. I said, man, what y'all running from? They said, Cookie coming. I said, Cookie coming. So I look down the street, and I see it coming around the corner of the building. I seen some blue jeans, a old beat up Timberland, and like a red shirt, and I think he might have had a Carhartt jacket or something on. Now, when I saw him turn that corner, I ain't even see his face. I took off running right behind him. I don't know if I ran back. I think I might have ran back in the building, or if I followed them, I can't remember. I think I went back in the building. Because Cookie was known to be a guy you do not want to come across, man. Cookie was the local crackhead that would try to kidnap kids and molest them and all kind of stuff. Cookie was jacked up. Now, I don't know why or how he was able to get away with this, but I guess like the older guys didn't really take him serious because they just thought he was a crackhead. You know, they give him a little, he buy a little dope and stuff from him, and that'd be it. And I guess he must have never successfully completed what he was trying to do, but we was terrified of him. He wasn't finna try it with us, or we wasn't finna find out if it was real or not. So every time he was around, we just took off without even thinking twice, man. And it always seemed like it was never a grown-up around. It seemed like he just knew how to show up at the time when nobody else was around. So anyway, after that, I don't think I saw Cookie too much more after that. But what happened was one day Cookie had a bad hit. Now, a bad hit is where somebody laced your drugs with something. So somebody took Cookie, whatever, crack, heroin, whatever he was on, somebody took that and they put something in it that made it like basically poisoned it. So when you take that bad hit, a lot of times it'll jack your mind up. Now me, I know a guy who he was well, I ain't gonna spoil that story. I'm gonna keep that story for later. But excuse me. But once you take that bad hit, man, that's it, man. That junk tear your mind. That junk tear your mind up. A lot of times it'll kill you, depending on what they trying to do. So I guess they wasn't trying to kill him. They was just trying to mess his mind up. Might have just been doing it for fun, man. You never know. So after that bad hit, Cookie lost his mind completely, man. Cookie got so crazy that he started dressing up like crackheads love windbreakers. You know, so that windbreaker, when you be walking and you got them windbreaker jogging pants on, you know them jogging pants, when you be walking, it be whoosh, 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 whoosh. That's what Cookie be wearing, man. So he be wearing the jogging outfit, and then he'll have like a long sleeve shirt under it that's one color, then a t-shirt on top of that that's a different color, then a tank top on top of the t-shirt that's a different color, and then like he'll have pants on, but then he'll have like what's it called, some shorts over the pants, and then different color socks on, big tall high, them big socks, old school socks that come up to your knees almost, man. Of course his shoes be jacked up or had different shoes and stuff on. I'm talking about some old run over shoes, man. So Cookie was just a dang mess, man. Now, I was blessed enough to never see full-blown crazy Cookie, but my little brothers weren't so blessed, man. One day we moved a couple blocks further south. So as we were what we was doing, so we sitting there, we waiting on okay. So my brothers, they moved a couple blocks south. I was in high school now. So, they went to school on their own. And they walked to school, if not all the time, at least sometime. Now, they walked to school was about 4 blocks. Yeah, they had a good 4-5 blocks to walk. So, I think, was it 4-5 blocks the long way? It might have been 4-5 blocks the long way. Let me think. No, that's the short one. Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, they had it was the short blocks, but so it was about 8. It was about 8 corners there. Cause in Chicago, the way it is, it's like going east and west. It's the whole block, and going north and south is like each street divided in half a block most of the time, I think. So anyway, but they had a nice little, they had about 5 blocks, 5 long blocks, 5 whole blocks. So while they be walking, one day they said they seen this guy. The guy dressed up like I explained, a whole bunch of different colors on, and then he had a big straw hat on. So they seen him one time, and okay, man, that guy crazy, just crackhead or whatever. So then they keep walking, and it's early, it's about 7, 8, whatever in the morning, man. They on the way to school. So then they say they seen him again. Like they go down another block and they see him again. So now at this point, oh yeah, they had a long walk because they had to walk down 4 blocks the long way. Then they had to walk. They had to walk down like 3 blocks the long way. Then they had to walk down like 4 blocks the long way. Yeah, so they had a nice little walk. So while they walking, they keep seeing them. So now, my big brother, my middle brother, he started getting like, man, dang, we came across this, and how we keep seeing the same guy? My baby brother, because he ain't think much of it, because he's super young at the time. So, my little brother say, they pick up he started looking for a weapon, something or on the ground, just started looking for a weapon. So now he say, I don't know what Cookie was doing, but somehow he was going around or cutting through the alleys or cutting through yards or something, and he just kept getting to where they was going before they would get there. And they said the last time, when you getting ready to walk past the alley, you can't really see because the garage is because the garage is there. So the way Chicago made, you got the house and the garages are separated from the house. The garages don't attach to the house like they do most of the time in Atlanta. So you got the house, and you got the front, and then in the back, and all the houses next to each other, and then you got the garage is not attached to the house. It's just in the back, and cause it's like you got the yard in between the house and the garage. So the car go through the alley, split in the middle of the blocks. There was the alley where you would turn in so you can get in the garage. So as they coming in whatever it's called, they coming getting ready to cross the alley. My brother say Cookie come out and was like within arm's reach of them, man. So they kind of do a little run, man. He said he ran and picked up a bottle, and he looked back and Cookie just staring at him. And he said after he picked up a bottle, like a broken bottle or something, so it was kind of sharp. And he said they just went on and kind of ran on the way to school, man. So, and in the morning, it don't be nobody out, boy. Chicago got some areas where you be out in the man. Folk don't get up in the morning, boy. Folk be in there sleep like a mug. Chicago don't wake up till about 12 o'clock. You got your dope. Some of them dope boys be out there all night, all day though. But Chicago, that's when everybody sleep early in the morning. But anyway, they almost got man. They might not have been here today, boy. That's some crazy stuff. Now that story right there, you think what you want. That mug right there, 100%. That's man, I'm telling y'all, that's what happened. That's what happened, man. They almost got killed by the clown. Now later, there was I'm gonna say this for another time. But later there was a full-blown epidemic, and when that full-blown epidemic happened, that was that was kind of rough, man. That's when it started, like, social media started coming, and it was all on the news. Creepy clown that was different. Now I got that story too. I'll tell y'all about that one another time, man. But yeah, that was different. That was a different time. But Cookie was the originator. he didn't want to kick that junk off.
Hey y'all, Killer Orange Cat here. I would like to thank Hood Horror and Grimtale Bros for their contributions in this video. Please visit their channels and the links provided to subscribe. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, feel free to click the subscribe button and the bell below, or click the icon of Ichigo the cat that will appear at the end of this closing. Leave me a comment and share the video with someone you think might enjoy it. If you have an original story you'd like narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please email it to the address included in the description. But most importantly, don't forget to make sure to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. Good night.